welcome to the Art of Presentation by Browzwear. So the first thing we do when we jump onto creating editorial images is to choose our avatar. Browzwear has a wide range of avatars that are photorealistic, posable, and fully parametric, meaning you can adjust the size to your liking. And this is our family of avatars at the moment. We have our newest addition, Charlie, and the hand and feet and bag avatars. And the next thing we do is to choose our lighting. You can use HDRI lighting, which can have the lighting itself and the background. You're able to just find these online and bring them into VStitcher to use, or if you know how, you can also create and import your own. The next step is to just pose and shoot. We can create stunning renders using the power of Raytrace. We can pose and style our photo shoot any way we like. And we can choose our lighting and camera angle to our liking as well. So let's say I have my inspiration like this on the right, and then I have my file like the one on the left, and I want to create my own photo shoot here. So let's take a look at what we would do. So currently what I have here is just my base garment dressed on the avatar, but let's say I want to start creating a different pose. I'm gonna undress here for a second and let's take a look at poses. For poses, it's actually best to start with something similar to what you're aiming for. So in this case, I will probably start with one of the casual looks, and then after activating that pose, I will go and say add pose, which will give me a new pose. And what this does is give me access to the skeleton of the avatar, and then I can just move it around, move the arms around, and pose it however I like. So in this case, I'm just gonna go out of this for a second. In this case, I already have some poses that I created comparing to what I'm looking for. And all I do after this is just dress the avatar. So the next step here is to talk about the background, the lighting here. So I can just right click and switch between the lighting settings here. For this, I'm gonna use one of the HDRIs that I have brought in. And then I would just click OK, and you see how it changes the light here. To give an example of how HDRIs look when you bring it in, so that is just the HDRI that I found online. I downloaded it and I just bring it in here. And I can adjust the exposure. Let's say in this case it's a little dark for me, and then I can rotate the image around to see if I can get a better shadow angle. Once I'm done with my lighting, the next thing I can adjust is the camera angle. For that, I can go to my ponytails here and just go to edit, add camera view. I can type in a name here and start adjusting my view. So in this case, I'm gonna do a focus view so I can sort of grab a pose that I like. Something like this. The good thing about this is that you actually get access to the field of view or the lens properties. So I can adjust these. So let's say if I make it larger, I get this sort of fisheye effect, which is kind of what I'm going for in this case. Right, and then I will save this, and after saving it will just like start showing up there. So this was my previous, and you can see when I switch between camera angles, it is actually updating the field of view with that as well. A little trick we can use here is to use just pieces of fabric, just like a regular rectangle, as a background. So what I have here on my 2D window is basically a large piece of fabric that I draped in the background, and I just finished the simulation before running it. And then here, all I did was add an image, basically add whatever background image that I want there. After this, all you do is render and you have your photo shoot. Another option is using external rendering. So in this case, you can use Maya, 3ds Max. In this case, I'm using Blender, but basically what you would do is instead of rendering an image, you would export your 3D object, your garment as a 3D object, and then you can bring that into a 3D modeling software and create a scene around it. So for example, here I have an example for this. In this case, for example, I'm in Blender. I created a scene here. These are pretty basic things. I just created like basic shapes, and some things I imported. So for example, I can find a model of a 3D object, a 3D tree online, and I just import that in. I did not create this, but it looks great on my scene. And basically just making adjustments in there, I can create very nice editorial scenes here. Some other things I can do is recolor things pretty quickly in here as well. So for example, instead of pink, I can switch to a blue color within Blender here very quickly. And then I would just render out from here, which looks pretty editorial. You also have access to different cameras. So for example, if I wanted to switch to a different camera view, I can do that. I can also create new ones if I want. So very editorial images, pretty easy to create as well. Alright, so let's move on to our second demo, which is our partners in animation and then AR. The first partner here is Metail EcoShot. You can basically use their plugin to create very realistic renders using real-life models. Think of this as like merging your 3D garment with a real person. And then another partner we have is Trapdoor. They have the application called Stage, which allows you to use metahumans, which are these very realistic human avatars from Epic Games. And you can dress your garment on those and take it into the Stage plugin and then render out from there. What you're seeing in this video is basically the plugin itself. So this is live. It is what we call real life ray trace. So it's hyper realistic, just out of the box like that. And you can change the background, you can change your lighting, you can play around with the rotation of the avatar. So you can render images from here. You can also render animations, but the animations think of as moving the camera, not the avatar. So if you want to move the avatar, you can actually do that within VStitcher. What we can do is import an animation onto our avatar and combine them together in VStitcher. And then basically we end up with styles that we have rendered. The great thing about this is here in VStitcher I have one file. Basically I animated. If you look here, I have 4 different clips. So these are basically 4 different animations that I attached to my avatar and then just rendered it. Now, another great thing about animation workspace is that you technically have to dress this. You have to dress this only once. And then you will notice actually I was using a different colorway before. So technically I dressed this once, but then I can render out multiple colorways from the same file. I can possibly end up with like 5 different colorways doing the same action pretty quickly. So out of here we have 2 options. What we saw before in the video is basically an export of a video from VStitcher itself. And when exporting a video from VStitcher, you have a couple of options actually. You can choose to make the camera follow the avatar. You have some motion options for the camera itself. So for example, if you choose full circle, when you play the animation, the camera would actually turn around the avatar. and it would give you a video like that. So in that case, I can immediately go from here and render my animation in an MP4 format. But another option I have is to actually go to export, and instead of MP4, I can export the 3D object with the animation itself. So in that case, what I can do with that object is, create a scene in Blender like I did before with the images, but instead of importing in a static avatar, I would be importing my animated avatar in there, and then I can create videos like these. So that's basically a scene created in Blender with objects that I just found online and imported, by the way. Same with this one. We basically have two avatars animated, and all we did is create a simple scene and animate them within the scene directly. Okay, last thing we want to talk about is weaving your garments in AR. So this is where we're going, right? This is the future. If you follow that QR code there, you can actually view it for yourself. This is another partner called Ventana. What they provide is a plugin from Stitcher. It's pretty easy to use. You basically just export your garment through the plugin, and it uploads it to their platform and gives you a QR code, which then you can use to view the garment in real life in an AR mode. It's pretty easy. You can even include colorways now with that. And that's it for my demo. Thank you.